there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsdon.
And I'm Jeff Searcy.
Jeff, I don't, it's hot out. It's real hot, right?
It is real hot.
It's real hot. Allergies are acting up.
It's 94 degrees on the drive down here, and yes, there's pollen flying through the air everywhere.
I'm literally like waking up every morning and like my eyes just like throb from how dry like the air is. Like, oh my God.
Last week, there was so much pollen in the air up by my house from these flowering trees that I woke up with my eyes stuck shut.
I've had that a couple of days. And then the frickin' when you get those cottonwood trees, and I'm like, oh, it's Christmas in late August.
Yeah. Well, Jay, there's some movies we look at when we spin the wheel, and I'm like, okay, we know that's going to be garbage, but maybe it'll be entertaining. But there's some we look at, and we're like, this looks like it has the potential to be really cool, and then it's not.
Completely unrelated. Here's Christmas Blood. Let's deck the halls. Released November 2nd, 2017, with a December 18th, 2018 release date here in the United States. This is a Norwegian language film.
So better job in the U.S. than in Norway, I would say, for hitting that release window.
Yeah, although November 2nd, not bad.
It's not terrible, but I would say I want it a little later in November if you can.
Yeah, written and directed by Reinert Kiel, who has also done a lot of movies in Norway, but has also been involved in the art department for things like Mission Impossible 8, Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Unsolved Mysteries. I also found a note on his IMDb page that says he always does interviews drunk, which I just, good on him.
Respect.
I mean, I guess the most exciting actor, I don't know, like the only kind of actor of note was Jorgen Langheel, who plays Nissen, our Killer Santa character, who was Lars in the 2011 The Thing prequel.
Yeah. Which I would say it's not a bad role, but it's really not a super important role for that movie either. Which a lot of people give that movie a lot of hate, but I think if you take it as its own thing, it's not terrible.
Also known as Yule Blod.
Yep, Yule Blod. Saw that on the title card.
And
also, Jay, I want to point this out before we get started. A Norwegian movie, but there are several people throughout it speaking English.
That's going to be my broken bulb. We'll talk about it, but yeah, it gets very kind of distracting. Like,
well, yeah, because you get used to reading the subtitles, and then all of a sudden somebody will be speaking English, and everybody obviously understands them. So it's like, okay, if everybody understands English, then why couldn't the movie just been in English?
And then they'll respond to them in Norwegian, but the biggest issue is you're kind of sitting there reading these subtitles, and you're like, and then suddenly like the subtitle disappears. They start speaking in English, and then they go back, and it kind of like it tricks your brain, or it certainly did for mine.
It also makes it hard to figure out who's talking to who. Because, it'll be panning around while somebody's speaking English, and then it'll go back to somebody speaking Norwegian, but you're not sure who they're supposed to be speaking it to.
For that exact reason, I struggled to put people's names down. Like, I think I've got all the girls but one.
Spoiler alert, none of these characters' names actually matters. It's like this never comes up where you need to know any of their names.
Tagline, naughty or nice, you're dead.
Which also, weird. If you're going with the Santa naughty or nice list, the people on the nice list shouldn't be dead.
Right, agreed. But where to watch? Tubi.
You can run it on Amazon or buy it in lots of places.
I've got a DVD copy of it. I don't know. Personal experience with this movie was finding it on Tubi.
Yep. You found it. You're like, hey, that looks interesting. And I was like, hey, I agree. That does look interesting. And then it came up on the wheel.
And then the wheel popped up. And was it interesting? Well, let's talk about it in our synopsis.
Let's figure that out.
We see a dark house decorated for Christmas with a location and date of Kongsvinger, 24th of December, 2011. A family is asleep throughout this dark house. The daughter gets up and goes to check to see if Santa's visited to kind of snoop on the presents. She kneels next to the tree and looks at presents, and we get this great shot reflected through a Christmas ornament of her kind of sitting there looking at this present, and then Santa walks up behind her. And then the camera quickly cuts back to her dad, who's lying in bed asleep, snoring, and he's woken up by her screaming. He goes downstairs to investigate and notices that his wife and daughter are missing, and kind of searches through the house. And he's getting taunted. He keeps hearing noises, and he keeps hearing the jingling of jingle bells.
Yep.
And then he picks up a broom with a Santa, I don't know. It's like Santa on the bristles. It's really weird looking.
It's a really weird. It's Santa's head is the broom head, and then you're brushing the floor with his beard, I guess, is the idea.
Real effective weapon for what's about to happen. He's kind of looking through the house, kind of looking around, and then we see Santa appear behind him and hit him in the back of the head with an axe.
And what, he couldn't block it with his broom?
He gets hit once, starts feeling at the back of his head, and you get this great shot of his brain exposed and his skull kind of caved in. And then we basically see Santa just go to work chopping up the bodies and basically leaving the body parts around and on the Christmas tree. Cops arrive and they discover this grisly scene. We see a note written in the family's blood that says Merry Christmas, and then there is a list of 324 names.
Yes.
Which are apparently the victims.
Yes. There's he's got a bunch of them crossed off. I believe he's on number 201 or something like that on the list. But yeah, apparently it's people who are on TV, Jay. People who are guilty of various crimes.
Yep. And Detective Thomas Rash shows up, and he's kind of investigating this, and then he hears a gunshot outside. Runs outside. The Santa was still there, and they had shot him, and then Thomas Rash just pulls out his gun and just empties the entire clip into him, including getting right up above him and shooting him right in the head.
Yep.
And then we get our title card, Yule Blood.
Yule Blood.
We then get these opening credits that are kind of mixed in with a backstory. And
you get a bunch of slides and newspaper clippings and things about this killer Santa.
It started all the way back in 1998. I think 121 people were killed until Santa was apprehended in 2011.
Yep.
But yeah, somehow he survived getting shot.
Which there's no way. So it's at this point, Santa must be supernatural.
He was shot 7 times and then once in the head and somehow survived. They locked him away in a kind of a maximum security prison, and then in 2016 he escaped.
Which we don't get to see.
Yeah, and we just get the date, December 22nd, 2016. We have a new detective on the case. Detective Hansen, who goes into the prison cell that they kept him in, and clearly he murdered multiple guards to escape because there's just blood everywhere, all over the ground, all over the walls.
Well, I mean, he did get shot 7 times and survived, Jay.
Yeah.
Obviously some kind of beast.
Detective Hansen interviews one of the other guards, who basically says he would just sit there all day and stare at that wall. He would get really violent around Christmas time. And he only asked for porridge, which, if this, Norwegian folklore, porridge is what you give the Nissen for Christmas. So I think that Hansen's really on brand, huh?
Yeah.
And then also Hansen tells her not to let this leak to the press, which it probably gets leaked to the press.
Yes, I mean, almost immediately, I would assume.
We are now at an airport in Alta, where a girl named Anika meets up with some friends for a party for Christmas. Other girls are named Rika, Julie, Elizabeth, Sonny, and I think there's one more that I might be missing.
But you can just call them the girls.
Yeah, and Katya, I think, is another one. Is maybe the other one.
Is another one, I think.
The house they are staying in is Julie's mom's house, who had recently committed suicide, and so they're all kind of getting together to spend time with their friend at Christmas.
It's because she was drunk and ran over somebody.
Back in Oslo, Detective Hansen continues to research the killer. One of the names on the list is Britt, Julie's mom, who we then learn died like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
But this is known to like these people, but it's not known to Santa, who escaped, and he has a list of people.
Oh no. Which the numbers that get thrown around in this movie are really inconsistent, because it's like, okay, so they say he killed 121 people, but he had like 200 people crossed off his list, but there was a list of 300 people already, so it's like, so why is he going after this particular woman right now?
But now there's only 2 people on the list, and like one of them is alive, and then the other one is Julie's mom.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
And also, if you want to make a Santa who's killing people on the naughty list, I mean, that's an interesting gimmick or whatever, but it's like he literally kills anybody who gets in his way, so the list doesn't even matter.
Very, very inconsistent as compared to our boy Simon Phillips.
Yes,
who,
Simon Phillips. He follows the rules.
Yeah,
Okay.
If they're not on the list, so they're not naughty or nice, he doesn't fuck with them at all. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess no, he does sometimes, but
I mean,
he just doesn't carve naughty or nice into their.
He doesn't do all kinds of weird, depraved things to random people he passes by.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
This Santa literally butchers anybody who gets in his way.
Back at the party, Elizabeth shows up and scares, I don't know, one of the girls. I'm going to say Rika, why not?
Yep.
By wearing a creepy Santa mask, which kind of just more or less just kind of sets the scene for the whole movie.
Yep. But don't worry, Jay. You won't have to worry about any creepy Santa for the next 45 minutes.
Oh, real fast. We do get a flashback to December 24th, 2003. 2 cops are sent to investigate a noise complaint. A lady cop goes in to investigate and finds like a bunch of dead bodies and blood everywhere. She goes outside to get her partner, who has been murdered in the car, like his face all mutilated. She attempts to call for help, and while she's doing that, Santa appears behind her and axes her in the head.
There's going to be a lot of that, Jay.
And now there'll be about 45 minutes where we don't see Santa. We're not going to cover all 45 of those minutes. We're just going to kind of cover the highlights.
Yeah.
Back at the party, Katya and her boyfriend Christian arrive, and he has some kind of previous relationship with Ritika.
Yes.
Which is a big kind of cause for issue. Yes. Or it is. We learn that it is later. Also, everyone in the house is mad at Ritika for smoking pot. Mm. Which
whatever, bunch of fucking squares.
Back down south, Detective Hansen goes to the coroner to determine if a body they found was related. It isn't. That's the big.
I know, that was the most hilarious part of that entire scene.
We have this whole scene of this like naked lady, like with maggots crawling like inside of her wound, and like we get full frontal, of this corpse.
Full bush, ladies and gentlemen.
As we then just get like the coroner just like eating like a cinnamon bun and like licking the icing off of the dead body and shit. It's like, what purpose did that serve? None, other than to probably show this gross coroner and this naked body.
And to make the detective throw up. Because, I mean, at that point, who wouldn't? Watching a guy eat icing off of a corpse.
The Detective Hansen then talks to one of the other police officers, and it's revealed that he is looking for Detective Rash.
Yes. Because he's gone underground.
Yep, we need to find him. He's the only one who can help us solve this, Jeff.
Oh, no.
We get a montage of Hansen doing investigation while the girls are partying, set to Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Mm-hmm.
But yes, the investigation is really weirdly done. He's like sitting at his desk and he'll move a paper from one side to the other, and then he'll answer the phone and then put it back down.
Or he'll like get up and like talk to some people, and then he goes and sits back down. There's one scene where like I feel like he gets up and talks to this lady, goes and sits back down. The lady then
comes over and talks
to him, and then like he goes to a different room and she comes in and talks to him in there.
Yep. People sitting and talking, Jay. It's what great horror movies are about.
Julia reveals that her mom killed herself because she couldn't get over the fact that she ran over a kid. One of the girls is asks about finding hunks on Tinder. We'll have more on that later.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, there are no hunks on Tinder.
And then we see Santa standing outside the house holding an axe. Very, very ominous.
And then we won't see him again for another 30 minutes.
Ratika and Katya's boyfriend Christian, get kicked out for smoking pot and fucking on the couch in like the living room where anybody could just walk in. So they kind of leave and they start walking through the cold. And then at one point, Christian's like, "Oh, it's cold out. Here, take my coat." And then he gives it to her. And he's like, "Give it back. It's cold."
Yep. Yeah, see, he stands there and shivers, and he's like, "What temperature is it again?" And he's like, "Can I have that back?"
He then he goes, so they're kind of walking along. He then sees, I think he maybe hears the jingle bells.
They hear something, and then he's like, "I think there's a hotel around the corner."
Yeah, and he looks up at like the roof of this building, and we see Santa standing on the roof, and he kind of like laughs. He's like, "Hey, look, it's Father Christmas," and and Ratika's like, "No, there's not." And he kind of turns around and there's no one there. And they round a corner, and then standing on the top of the hill is the Santa. And he just starts walking down towards them as slowly as possible.
Well, Jay, he's activated his teleportation powers for the first time.
Yep.
Somehow he was on a roof next to them, and then somehow way in front of them on a hill.
And then Christian and Ratika get separated, but they both find their way to the hotel.
Yep.
But Santa's already inside the hotel.
Of course
with
he
his
is.
teleportation, even though he was chasing them.
Of course he is, Jay. He knew where they were going without ever being told, and he got there before them and set up an ambush.
So we see like Christian running through like the dining room of this hotel, and he sees like Santa out of the corner of his eye, so he's able to duck underneath the table, and then Santa just kind of like walks around the table and then stops in front of him. We cut away to Ratika like running through the halls. She gets in an elevator, goes downstairs, and finds Christian like disemboweled, like holding his guts in, like crying for help.
Now, bear in mind, I want to emphasize this. They make his footfall sound like especially heavy, like he's wearing very heavy boots, and he would be like impossible not to hear. But somehow he always appears behind people with no warning.
And so she goes to kind of run outside to get help, but the door is already locked. And then Santa's just kind of standing off to one side. She didn't notice him, and he just throws an axe at her, like hits her in the back of the head, and then proceeds to like chop her up with the axe in front of the door, blood splattering everywhere, and then goes and murders Christian while he's laying on the ground, finishing him off.
It would be cool to see these gory kills, Jay, if we actually cared about any of these characters.
Right. Meanwhile, back in Oslo, Hansen has been able to locate Rash and kind of recruit him. Rash basically went underground and then just kind of became a reclusive drunk. I assume directly related to the Santa killer.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Hansen thinks he has a lead, but instead it's a guy. A naked guy, and he gets beaten up by him because the dude was like trying to fuck his girlfriend, and Hansen just broke in, and so the naked guy just beats the shit out of Hansen.
Yep, it's about the size of it, Jay.
They then send a police officer to locate Julia at her mother's house, but he's like, no one's there, even though all the girls are inside listening to music. They just don't hear the doorbell, but he doesn't hear the music outside the house or all the people partying.
Or see any lights or anything.
If it was so loud inside that they can't hear the doorbell, I assume it would be loud enough to hear all of that outside.
You would think so, Jay. You would think so.
So instead, he goes to like get back in his cruiser, and I think he messages. He's like, "Yeah, no one's there," and then he sees this like basically bag of presents that Santa would leave, but there's a bunch of blood on the outside, and he goes and he opens it up, and inside is Ratika's body. And like maybe she's barely still alive. She's kind of breathing, and the officer's like standing there, kind of like looking around, trying to investigate. And then we, just like you said, Jeff, we hear the loud footfalls of Santa approaching behind him. He turns around, no one's there. Turns back around to look at the bag, and Santa's then standing directly behind him and axes him in the back of the head.
Yep. CJ, Santa only exists when you're not looking at him. So if you turn your back, you're vulnerable.
Somehow Rash figures out that all the killings are like a Christmas tree.
But I mean, they're really not, because if you look at the way he draws the points, like at the bottom, he has to make the things like really wide to make it look even vaguely tree-like. And then there's no killings like on the east coast of Norway, so he has to like put dots out there when there really aren't any. Because to make the points, he has to put it out in the ocean, because Norway is a long, thin country. Also, speaking of that, Jay, so let's go with the lowest number. Let's say he's only killed 121 people. In Norway, he's killed 121 people.
He'd be like the most successful serial killer per capita. Like,
they have not caught him in a country as small as Norway. Not to say that Norway is excessively small land-wise, but population-wise is tiny. And it's a guy killing 121 people there, and no one has any idea who he might be.
And then they even catch him, and they still have no idea who he is. You and I were kind of talking off air. The only assumption is that he's the real Santa.
I mean, he has to be some kind of supernatural being. It's implied throughout the movie. There's something going on with him, because there's no way he could pull this off otherwise.
But yeah, anyway, all that to say, the killings are mapped out like a Christmas tree, apparently.
Yes,
and
no, it doesn't work at all.
The star on top of the tree is Hornigsvag, the town that Julia's mom lived in.
But that doesn't even make sense, because he wasn't at the end of his list, so why would that be the end?
Who knows? So they rush up to Hornigsvag to, I don't know, save her or whatever.
Vog some horns, I don't know.
The party rages on, and the girls have invited some hunks they found on Tinder. Jeff, do you want to describe these hunks?
Well, do you want ridiculously old hunk, Jay, that looks like he's like 65 years old? Or do you want weirdly shaped potato-headed hunk who looks like a real creep?
I saw them and I went, man, I should have gone to Norway, because if these guys are considered hunks, you know.
Yes, that's exactly what we came to that conclusion. It's like, damn, apparently we would be real hot in Norway, Jay.
We're Iowa 2s, but apparently we'd be Norway 10s. Oh shit. No, these are I could not believe that they're like, yeah, we got some hunks, and then it's these two guys.
Yeah. No, one of them literally, they show up together and they act like they're friends, but one looks like he's the other guy's dad.
And then he's like, oh, that's my brother.
And they both act like weird creeps. Yes, you finally found out they're brothers. But it's like, one, who matched with them out of this girl group? Who thought these guys were quote-unquote hunks? And who, when they saw them, decided to invite them over to the party?
You're absolutely not, Jeff. They don't act like weird creeps. They are weird creeps because of the things that are about to happen.
No, also, Jay, they're hunks.
Also, I believe one of our hunks is the director. I'm not positive of that, because I couldn't track everybody's name, because some people, like, their name gets said once or not at all, and then you just had to compare it to like the list on IMDb.
They're hunks, Jay. Refer to them as the hunks from now on.
One of the girls, Sane, I think, gets sick. And from partying too much, and
so seeing one of the hunks.
So she goes upstairs to kind of pass out, and she gets followed by the creepily old hunk, as you called him, who then like sneaks into the room that she's in as she's like masturbating, and then decides to try and rape her. He's, as
you do, Jay.
Yeah, like real cool guy. And then like you hear, like, at one point, like, they hear her screaming upstairs, not because of the attempted rape, but because Santa shows up and axes him in the back of the head. And then he goes, yeah, that's my brother. Sounds like he's having fun. That would be reason alone to kick him out.
Which, bear in mind, too, it's not like he's her boyfriend or whatever following her up there while she's masturbating drunk. He has literally never met her before. And he's following her up there.
No, he's a monster. Like, and so he gets axed in the head. The girl, Sade, gets covered in his blood. And like, as Santa like then proceeds to like rip him off of her, and then literally picks him up with the axe and slams him into the ceiling.
Yes, that's superhuman levels of strength, because this is a normal sized guy.
And so Sade's like screaming like for help, and he just and Santa just turns the axe around and axes her right in the crotch, killing her.
Yep. Which again, all this gratuitous violence might be interesting, Jay, if we actually knew who any of these people were or cared about them at all.
Potato Head, as you called him, and Elizabeth, they go upstairs and start fucking. Once again, if it's obvious that your friend's screaming for help, and he's like, yeah, that's my brother for you, that's reason enough to kick the dude out of your house and maybe go and investigate.
Nah, Jay, that makes me want to sleep with him even more.
Elizabeth then leaves, and he kind of like Potato Head kind of walks around, just kind of like looking at stuff, and then Santa appears behind him, strangles him, and then rips his spine out of his back.
Again, we're talking like Hulk levels of strength here.
It's literally like fatality. Hanson and Rash arrive in the town. We see the dead cop Gunnar from who went to investigate earlier, decapitated with his head on top of a snowman's body, which is a great scene.
Good kill.
Once again, would care a lot more about it if we cared for these characters.
At all who Gunnar was or what he was doing, or any little tiny bit of backstory.
At the party, one of the girls gets axed in the face on the staircase. Like they kind of go up to they're finally at the point where they're going to go investigate, and so one of the girls like goes upstairs or starts to walk upstairs, and they see the dude's body kind of get pulled to the side. And so they're all kind of freaking out. And then Elizabeth runs upstairs, presumably saw Sane's body, like all torn apart, runs back downstairs past him as all the other girls are just kind of standing there doing nothing. One of them turns around and just gets axed in the face from above. Great kill. Right in the face, and then and Santa's like above her, like on the balcony or on the staircase or whatever, and then pulls her up, and then it's literally like they just threw a bucket of blood on Katja's body.
Yep.
Did I say Sane? I meant Anika. If I misspoke, I believe that one was Anika. Not that it really matters.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But yeah, I just loved it because like literally she gets axed, there's a little bit of blood, and then it's literally just like someone just threw a bucket of blood on the girl. Santa gives chase and chases Katja and Julia out of the house, and as he's walking by a set of candles, all the candles start extinguishing as he walks by, like some kind of episode of Dragon Ball Z, and his aura is extinguishing the candles as he moves past them.
Jay, I think he's approaching 100% full power.
I think his power level's over 9,000.
9,000? It can't be.
Oh man,
we're old, Jay.
Oh, and when he goes to give chase, he says, "Ho ho ho, have you been good girls?" Which is, I think, the only time we hear him talk.
Yes, it is.
The cops arrive, but find the scene deserted and all the bodies kind of left there. So, everyone's already left. So, they're already too late. Elizabeth winds up getting cornered by the Santa in a park. She gets axed in the stomach and then axed in the face.
Indeed.
Julia and Katja arrive at the police station, but find that the officer at the front desk has been murdered and the phone lines have been cut. Meanwhile, back at the house, Detective Rash goes to get Hanson a glass of water, but he put a sleeping pill in it. So he can do this alone. I guess he wants to be the one to confront Santa.
Oh.
Katja and Julia attempt to escape, get chased by Santa. He is inside the building. They're able to kind of fight him off as he grabs Katja by the hair and starts pulling her back, and Julia is able to has a knife and is able to stab him in the arm, enough for them to escape. Remember, Santa's still inside the building. They get on their snowmobile and go to leave, and then Santa's standing in front of them.
I guess, Jay.
Julia drives past as he's swinging his axe, and ducks, but Katja doesn't duck, so she gets axed in the throat. And taken off the thing. So Julia, instead of fleeing, goes back to help her friend. And Santa then grabs her by the arm, breaks it, and is getting ready to strangle her just as Detective Rash shows up, dumps another clip of ammo into Santa, causing him to fall to the ground, goes into the police station, grabs a hunting rifle, and in, I don't know, the 30 seconds that took, Santa's gone again.
As happens, Jay. As happened.
Detective Rash then goes back to the house to to check on Detective Hanson, who has now been also murdered by Santa, wrapped in Christmas lights. or not murdered by Santa. He's been attacked by Santa. Like, he's also been like disemboweled. And Detective Rash picks up the hunting rifle and shoots Detective Hansen in the head, putting him out of his misery. Camera fades to black and then cuts back to Santa standing on the street again with the axe. And we get like the loud like dun, dun, dun of his footsteps into movie roll credits. If that sounded as confusing as I assume it sounded, that's because it's a confusing movie.
That's because it is. And bear in mind that we skipped over about an hour worth of boring bullshit you don't need to actually know.
Where like, yeah, they're like following leads that don't add up and stuff like it.
Or like, yeah, the morgue scene that had no purpose. Or like the girls partying where you think, oh, something relevant to the story is going to happen. But no, it's just scenes of them partying.
No, it's just like, oh, here's another just like 10 minutes uninterrupted of them partying. Like,
yep. Or, fighting about boys or whatever.
Complaining about one of them smoking pot. Like,
But no, I'm not kidding. An hour worth of that. This movie could have, it's 2 hours, I believe, Jay.
Just under, I think.
It could have been 1 hour.
It could have. Well, we'll actually get into that, I think. But yeah, where do you want to start for our categories?
Let's talk about the Christmas spirit. We might as well get it out of the way.
How Christmassy is the movie? How Christmassy are the kills?
It's one of the stronger points of the movie, I think. It feels very Christmassy. Obviously, somebody killing people based on the naughty nice list, like we said for the Nights Before Christmas, adds a lot of Christmas flair to it. Although, like we said, this Santa doesn't really appear to care if you're on the list or not. He just kills anybody who gets in his way on the way to somebody on the list.
Yep.
So it's kind of weird that in that aspect. I mean, there are some Christmas decorations around. There's snow, obviously, because it's Norway.
There's a fuck ton of snow on the ground.
It's really dark outside because that's the period of the year where Norway is like in darkness or whatever, where they don't have sunlight for like, 28 days?
Yeah, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So it's very dark, atmospheric for a horror movie.
One thing I would have liked, and especially today, we're recording this on Wednesday the 28th. We just got the trailer drop for Terrifier 3. And when you see like the sorority house decorated in Christmas lights, boy, I would have liked some more Christmas lights. I think that was my biggest complaint.
It's kind of weird, but maybe that's just not big in Norway in Christmas decorations. They seem to have a lot more Santa imagery and a lot more trees than they do lights.
Yep. But yeah, that was kind of my one big knock against it. But yeah, otherwise, like snow on the ground, and then for How Christmassy Are the Kills, it's a killer Santa with an axe.
It's
so
pretty Christmassy.
The most Christmassy killer and the most Christmassy weapon.
And the most Christmassy motive, the naughty list.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, movie. I think movie maybe not as strong though as as some of the other ones we've had.
I would
lately.
say I would rate this as a medium Christmas spirit, honestly. Even though it has a lot of factors going for it, it also has some stuff that really pulls you out of the Christmas mood, including the tone of the movie. Because we'll get into that later for my broken bulb, but this movie really doesn't know what it wants to be, Jay.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I think that's more my final rating. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Let's do Christmas wrapping. Favorite set design, effects, costumes, all that stuff.
Set design's kind of a hard one because there really aren't very many interesting sets in this movie. I will say, though, I liked the little town they were staying in. What was it?
Horningsvåg or something like that.
Something like that. It looked like a pretty nice little town. And they did a good job of making it feel like isolated by like the long drive up there and like the sweeping like drone shots, I'm guessing, of like the surrounding wilderness areas.
Well, like when you get there via the airport, the only way, because the airport's like in Alta. And then the only way to get to Horningsvåg is to then take like a bus. And like there's a scene where like towards the beginning of the movie when the girls go up on the bus and there's like a lady sitting on the bus just eating a hard-boiled egg, like this, just this lady who, who's you assume maybe works in Alta and then lives in Horningsvåg. And then the cops get in the bus. They're sitting there talking, like this is towards the end of the movie, and the lady is still sitting in the bus, still eating the like a hard-boiled egg, and I'm like, this is the star of the movie right here.
It's kind of shit you want to see, Jay.
One of the girls, I don't remember which one. Once again, I don't think it's that important. Does wear a Lucio Fulci zombie shirt, which I thought was pretty cool.
Was that Elizabeth? Was that her?
I don't think that was Elizabeth. I think that was
Julia? Was it Julia?
Or maybe Anika.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, these people, we don't have any idea who they are. No one knows. I don't even think the people in the movie know who they are.
But you know, it's one of those moments where I'm like, hey, movie, don't remind me of a better movie. Don't remind me of Full Cheese Zombie while I'm watching your movie. Don't have somebody literally wearing the poster for a better movie in your movie.
I think that's a pretty good general rule for any movie that's going to be using like a lot of trope heavy stuff. Don't give us callbacks to any other movie that's already done it better.
I would say this might be like certainly not power level wise from what we saw, but from a lot of other stuff, this might be my least favorite Santa we've had so far.
I mean, he's really not even a character. You never learn why he's doing the list, what his motive behind it is. Like we said, he speaks one line in the entire movie. Because like Michael Myers, yes, he doesn't talk, but you get a whole laundry list of backstory. Same thing for Jason about his motivation of why he's killing people. This guy is just like, well, apparently he just likes killing people.
Yeah, I pretty much, yeah. He's these are people who you assume committed crimes and maybe didn't get punished for them,
but
and that's why he's doing it. But that's kind of an assumption you're making.
You say, yeah, you just have to assume that because you never hear anything from him, or even like, you know, the detective could have done a rundown like, this is what we got on his background, but apparently he has no background because he is a supernatural killer Santa.
But yeah, like you said, he's not so much a character as he is just kind of like he's there.
Yes, he's a force in the movie. He's the killing force that drives the plot along. That's all he is.
And also the Santa costume is very standard.
Yes.
Like very, very kind of like bog standard by the books.
I was very disappointed with that because I'm like, oh, so this is going to be like that European, you know, grittier, more wild, like pagan Santa Claus. You know, like in what was that one?
Rare Exports?
Yes, Rare Exports, where it's like the old style suit, you know, with the tassels on it and everything, and like more like a great coat than like what our Santa wears. But no, it's just a standard anybody could buy Santa suit.
Yep. Like it's the most like it's the most like mall Santa suit.
Yeah. Very disappointing. I don't know how we're going to do the quote segment, Jay. I got nothing for you. I got a couple.
that I kind of ran into the same issue. I was like, yeah, for Christmas Carol for quotes. When I went to start it out, I was like, do I just say I don't have a single quote? But I was actually able to find a couple that I was like, okay, maybe.
Well, my top one was the one you already mentioned, where it's like rape sounds coming from upstairs, and then you hear them start to get murdered, and he's like, well, that's just my brother.
Jesus. Oh my God. I assume it is Ratika who says to Anika, you fucking bogon. And I was debating putting this in, or boggin maybe, I don't know. I was debating putting this in. I'm like, is this some kind of slur that I don't know about? But apparently it just means like somebody who's like unkempt. But I was like, watch, I'm just going to say some Norwegian slur on
Go ahead, say it. Our one person in Norway will be very offended, Jay.
And then another line from the three girls, and I don't know which order they say these things in, but one's like, should we tell her? And then another one goes, tell me what? And then the third one goes, in the butt. What in the butt?
All right, I have two. So I believe it is Elizabeth talking to Ratika about Sane, and they're like, why'd your mom die? And you're like, you can't just ask her why her mom died. And then she proceeds to explain why her mom killed herself. And then I think like a callback possibly to Halloween, which again, don't remind us of better movies in your movie. But one of the psychiatrists in the very, very weird interview scenes you get with Santa where he doesn't talk and it's just like grainy camera footage.
And he just stares like into the camera the whole time.
One of the psychiatrists says to I'm assuming this guy is a psychiatrist because these roles are like uncredited. He's like, he's a manifestation of pure evil. And I'm like, is he though?
Is he? The last line I have is from that 2003 flashback with the lady cop and the other cop. And the other cop says to the lady cop, he's like, have you got a fuck friend?
Yep.
And then the lady cop goes, more than that. And then the other cop goes, a special man? But it's even better because so have you got a fuck friend, and more than that, I think are both in Norwegian. Mm-hmm. But then when he goes, a special man is, I think, in English.
Yes, it is in English, Jay. It is in English.
And that's my last quote.
Also, how is he still employed if he's asking all of his partners if they have a fuck friend? Or maybe things are just looser in Norway.
They must be.
I don't know. Jay, I think if I walked around the office asking all the women if they had a fuck friend, I probably wouldn't be there that long.
It'd be that, that meme where it's like there's a way to like talk to people, and it's the joke is that like it's a handsome dude, and then it's a Jay or Jeff type character asking the same question. Hello, HR.
Yes.
Like this guy is that. This guy's just been walking around the office asking everybody, "Have you got a fuck friend?"
Yeah. Well, CJ, if we were one of those Tinder hunks, and we walked around to these women and we were like, hey, have you got a fuck friend? They'd be like, oh, no, I don't. But if it was us, they'd be like, oh, God.
Oh, man. I still can't get over the Tinder hunks. I think that's the most ridiculous thing in this whole movie.
I mean, that was the one spot of entertainment for me when they're talking up these Tinder hunks and these two assholes walk in.
And the old man one, the guy who's way older than everybody else, is a total creep the whole time. Like, he sits by himself in the corner, not talking to anybody.
Staring at everybody.
Staring at all the girls, and then goes up and tries to rape one of them. Like, what the fuck?
I think it's Ratika that he's like constantly staring down the shirt of. Like, I could see, I mean, they did hook up with you on Tinder, so maybe like some glances, it's like, is that false advertising in those pictures? But no, it's like he's literally just like laser
staring
focused,
down her shirt,
laser focused on it, like he's never seen tits before.
Oh my God, what a strange film.
Which, I mean, honestly, Jay, if these are what pass for hunks in Norway, maybe he never has had sex before.
I mean, yeah. Oh man,
it's too cold in Norway for sex.
All right.
So a hunk is anyone who's willing to have sex in Norway. So what I'm saying, Jay, is we should move to Norway.
All right. Well, let's move on to a broken bowl, brilliant bowl of one thing you want to fix and one thing you want to praise.
All right. I'm guessing we're going to be praising the same thing, the kills.
Gore effects. Gore effects are the kills.
I mean, awesome gore effects, awesome kills like we talked about, some very creative axe kills. Because, I mean, it can get monotonous with a killer that only kills with one weapon. But honestly, he does a really good job doing all these different axe kills.
He switches it up. He axes people in the back. He axes people, like, with the blade. He axes people with the hilt. Mm-hmm. There's the one that he literally like picks up in the air with the axe.
Yep.
And then also axes that one girl in the crotch.
I say, yeah, we got that kill. We got some good head wounds too, back of the head and across the face.
Yep.
So lots of creative uses of one weapon, and like we said, like buckets and buckets of extra blood.
Yeah, there is so much extra blood in this movie.
It's like some of the bloody messes left after these people. It's like, okay, that was one person who died, but it's like 4 people worth of blood.
Well, like when the girl gets picked up in the air with the, and then you see the girl standing there, and then they throw the bucket of blood on her. Like that's great. Like there wouldn't be that much blood then, but it's such a good use of just the practical. Blood.
And you see, Jay, that leads me into my broken bowl. This movie doesn't know what the hell it wants to be. This movie needs to pick a lane. Because on the one hand, you have incredibly brutal kills. But then you also have kills with, like we talked about, a comedic amount of blood just like thrown on the body. And we also have lots of weird jokes and cutaways to like, gags and like the Tinder hunks showing up. I'm guessing it was supposed to be a joke, as in they're not really hunks.
Right. Yeah, these are just 2 dudes.
Yes. And like the investigation scenes with the old detective that comes back and he's just acting like a total lunatic the entire time, and like the fucking Christmas tree theory and shit. It's like, okay, so are they trying to? Because on the one hand they're acting like they want you to take this very seriously, but they keep doing such ridiculous things, and they're treating it like they're investigating a real serial killer or whatever, somebody they've been working to catch. But he's clearly like a supernatural entity. So it's like, okay, like in Halloween or whatever, it's like they don't catch him And it's like, it'd be really dumb if in the middle of Halloween they arrested Michael Myers somehow, shot him a bunch of times, drug him to jail, and then he escapes from jail by killing all the guards in the jail, presumably, back out on the street, and then they have to hunt him down again. It's like, if he's a supernatural killer, he just wouldn't be caught in the first place.
Yeah. Man, yours makes a lot more sense. And also to your point about the just the random jokes. There's the joke when Detective Rash shows back up and the police chief just kind of strolls into the room and he turns to Detective Rash and he's like, "I thought you'd be dead." And the Detective Rash is like, "I could say the same thing about you."
Yep. Yes, lines like that. It's like, I get breaking the tension every once in a while, but there's always some weird, like the line, it's like, you're supposed to take this thing seriously, you know, oh, her mom drank herself to death after she killed this kid because she was driving drunk. And then it's like, if they're like, "Oh, so how'd your mom die? What killed your mom, huh?"
Why'd your mom kill herself?
Like a joke. And it's like, okay, I can't take it seriously if this is how you're going to bring it up. And even the one delivering the thing about her mom is kind of like not even bothered by the way that they asked it. She doesn't act like she's upset or anything. It's like in a scary movie where they're constantly acting like, you know, it's a horror movie, but they'll say ridiculous shit to each other and then just take it in stride and continue on. That's what this feels like.
My broken bulb is the thing I complained about at the beginning. Just not constant, because constant makes it sound like it's happening all the time, but the switching between English and Norwegian, and you just kind of sit there and you go like, wait, you know.
Now we're speaking English?
Yeah, and so then, like, you know, so your brain kind of goes, okay, it's time to listen for English, and then the next line is delivered in Norwegian, but you're not reading the subtitles anymore, so it like, you know, for me, it was like, until I kind of got used to it, it was the occasional like pausing and rewinding just so I could like reread the Norwegian dialogues in case I missed anything. Like,
which, if you wanted to do something like that, you should have had one of the girls be there, like on vacation or something, like from England. It's like, oh, I'm spending with, like, you know, my relatives here, and she speaks English, but maybe she can understand Norwegian, but have it be like a language barrier thing where it comes into play somehow in the plot, but it never does.
Or my, you know, your thought, you know, is a great like actual like continuity thing to make it make sense. Mm-hmm. For me, just either do the entire movie in subtitles, because like that was the big issue, was then suddenly the English things aren't in subtitles, so I stop reading the lines. Mm-hmm. Or do the entire, or have an option for a dubbing. And just have the movie dubbed. And, you know, Mike talked about how much he loves Day of the Beast dubbed.
Yes, because it makes it a much more entertaining movie.
Like, and so, yeah, just have, like, wild English dub that maybe doesn't track fully with the rest of the movie. And just poorly delivered lines. Like, maybe it would have made me enjoy this movie a little bit more.
I mean, it probably would have. But I don't know. Like I said, that's the biggest thing for me, is it can't pick a lane. It can't decide if it wants to be a serious horror. Basically, it's one part detective drama, trying to be like a true detective style show. It's one part like Halloween or Friday the 13th, like supernatural slasher killer movie. It's one part teen party slasher movie where it's supposed to be a little more goofy or whatever, like your Terror Trains and things like that.
How dare you? That's the most serious movie ever made.
Or, you know, because it's got those three in it for sure. And then if you throw in like the weird, it's almost like a later Halloween movie where Michael's become immortal or whatever with the Thorn powers and all that, like, needless backstory.
And then, you know, take all of that and then just throw Silent Night, Deadly Night on top of it. Like,
and it's like, and let's make him a guy who dresses like Santa.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we've kind of already started getting into it. Final rating. Every episode of Horror for the Holidays, we rate the movie that we watched on one of three categories. Is it ho-ho-ho hilarious? Is it seasonally scary? Or is it you'll be sorry?
Much like the title, Jay, the Yule Blood is you'll be sorry.
Yule Blood sorry.
Exactly. I can't recommend this. It's not focused enough to be an entertaining movie. Like we said, there's a huge gap in the middle where nothing interesting happens. And seemingly there are scenes like almost like they were trying to pad out the investigation to make it seem more complicated than it actually is to catch this guy. So they were doing like scenes where like the morgue scene that has no purpose, or like him going around to different people's houses that aren't connected at all. And it's like, okay, we know who the Santa is because we've had him in custody. He has escaped. We know his next target. So literally just sit on his next target until he shows up. That's the entire investigation. That's all that needed to be done.
Right.
But they make it out like it's this huge imposition to track this guy down, even though we know exactly where he's going.
Now for me, it's also You'll Be Sorry. This felt very much like a Criminal Minds, or like a NCIS or a CSI, like a police procedural show that we just stumbled into like the last like 2-hour finale of.
Yes. Honestly, this felt like a season of an HBO show, yes, that we caught the last 3 episodes.
And we're just expected to like piece everything together. And maybe it would have benefited from actually being like an 8-episode prestige, television show.
I mean, that seems like what it wanted to be.
Because there are just things where I'm like, you could have done more kills. You could have stretched them out more through the show. You could have done more for Santa's backstory. And instead, we're just like kind of expected to know like some of these things and how some of these things work, and like and
some backstory for some of the characters, maybe, so we actually care when they get killed.
But yeah, like instead we're just given these characters, expected to just kind of watch this movie, and I think they do like feed you quite a bit of the stuff, but there's just some stuff where it's like, you could have done more to flesh this out.
They make it seem like they're feeding you a lot of stuff, but if you really break it down, what have they given you? There's a guy killing people dressed as Santa, who, even though they never address it at all within the framework of the movie, must be supernatural to have survived the things he's survived and done the things he's done. And he's going after that girl's mom, but her mom's not dead, so apparently that transfers it onto her somehow.
Or, yeah, but it's probably just that he doesn't know that she's not dead, but
he would figure that out when he showed up and she wasn't there.
Right.
And it's not like he's restricted in any way. He kills anybody who gets in his way. They don't have to be on the list or even related to somebody on the list. And like he stalked and killed what's their names? The pot smokers.
Ratika and Christian, yeah.
He stalked and killed them after they'd already left the house and have nothing to do with who he's supposed to be killing.
Like, he's standing there. He's standing by the house, presumably heard them get kicked out of the house, and then just goes and kills them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it just doesn't know what it wants to be.
There was a moment where like you and I were talking, and it's I think it's like around like the 2003 flashback, where we're just introduced to these 2 cops. There's been nothing said about these cops. There's been nothing mentioned about these cops. And it's just kind of like, suddenly here's 2 cops. We're expected to care about them. We're expected to, be introduced to these characters, and then they get killed immediately. And it's like, if this was a television show, you could have done things flashing back to 2003, flashing back to 2011, and kind of like, as you're watching the show, these things start getting pieced together.
Or even if they were within the framework of the movie as it is, if our main detectives were like, maybe that's why he went crazy and retired. He shot Santa, thought he got his revenge and retired. Maybe those were like, those were my best friends that he slaughtered. Something like that.
Do you think it's the girl? Do you think the girl's fuck friend was Detective Rash, and you and I just didn't piece that together? Like, do you think maybe that's what that was supposed to be?
Honestly, I don't know. Because, see, I thought the cop that they send to investigate the house where he says, oh, they're not there, I thought he was the naked guy that beat up the other detective at first.
But no, that's just another...
But yeah, it's just another guy.
I don't know, yeah.
But yeah, there's 20 plots going on in this movie that we've come in the last third of. We have no idea why any of this is happening or why we should care. And it's presented in such a way that it's not even like, it'd be one thing if it was nonstop action from beginning to end. But it's not. It's like some action at the beginning, a huge gap in the middle, some action at the end.
Yep. No, it's just so strange. It's so uneven. Like you said, it doesn't know what it wants to be.
You try to piece it together and you just can't, because there is nothing. At the end of the day, it's kind of like when they say a movie's a slow burn. Well, it's like, well, this movie was such a slow burn that it went out.
If you're interested enough in seeing the kills, I think the thing you and I praise the most.
Yes.
Yeah, just do like a quick like fast forward through the movie and kind of stop every time, a kill gets close. Like,
No, the kills were great. The camera work was great. Beautifully shot movie. But yeah, it's just not worth watching.
yeah. Yeah. And also another complaint, very, very small complaint, very dark. There's a
Yes.
lot of scenes where you're just kind of like, I can't tell exactly what's going
Yes,
on here.
Not dark as in tone, but dark as in I can't see what the fuck is going on the screen.
And that happens in a lot of movies. That's not just a this movie issue, but man, that was something where I was like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Weird. But honestly, what this two movies this reminded me of, with the way it's trying to be serious but it's completely ridiculous, which I already told you, Krampus the Christmas Devil.
Yep.
It's like this Krampus the Christmas Devil if they had an actual budget and competent director.
Right.
And another thing it reminded me of is this is what Thanksgiving probably would have been if it had been handled in like a serious way.
Instead of being like the goofy fun
yes.
movie it is.
And it's like it would have not been good if it had been taken as a serious slasher movie.
Oh man, maybe we'll do Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving this year.
I think we should.
Oh, it was so good.
But yeah, no, those two stuck out in my mind as like much. I mean, honestly, if you're going to do a bad movie, Krampus the Christmas Devil is a better example of a terrible movie than this is. And Thanksgiving is a way better version of this movie.
Well, Jeff, have you stopped to consider that maybe we're wrong and maybe we're getting clothes for Christmas?
I think we might be, Jay.
This is our new kind of segment we teased last time, where we do reviews that maybe counteract what we thought.
Yes, Jay.
Maybe we're wrong. Who knows?
I mean, we could be. Jay, there's a lot of weird opinions out there on the internet, a lot of reviews. You got any blurbs from the back of the box there?
I do have a blurb on the back of the box. This is from the Surgeons of Horror, who I've never heard of, but so I don't want to defame the Surgeons of Horror, but a fun psychological slasher movie and plenty of gruesome kills to satiate fans of the slasher genre. I think I can agree with slasher movie and plenty of gruesome kills to satiate fans of the slasher genre. Fun and psychological, I don't think are words that I would use to describe this movie. Certainly not fun. This movie was a slog.
All right, Jay. What do you think? What do you think would be in a 4-star review of this movie, Jay? What do you think they'd be praising in that?
Hopefully the kills, right? Like maybe that's the only thing to praise.
I really like the relationship of the new cop and the old cop. They work together to quite an unforgiving end. I'd happily watch this movie again for just the cop drama.
That's all. That's not even most of the movie.
It's not.
That's
It's like 10
the third
minutes
of it.
It's like 10 minutes of it. 3.5 stars, Jay, because this movie has no reviews on Google, so I've had to pull reviews from other places. 3.5 stars. It was okay, I guess.
I mean,
that was basically the gist of my review.
I just don't think either of us would give it 3.5 stars.
No, I'm staying more in the 2-star area for me. Let me see here, Jay. Let's go to somebody who said this was a 5-star movie.
Is this the director? Is this just the director?
No, Jay. This is a great movie. Rejoice, horror fans. Christmas has come early with Artsploitation's release of the Yuletide slasher Christmas Blood. I'm guessing this may be paid. I don't know. But it could not be. This could be a real person's opinion. I don't know. Known primarily for bringing foreign-made exploitation films to the American audience, Artsploitation tends to pick films that satisfy their somewhat extreme taste for violence, gore, nudity, physical and psychological torture, rape. I'm sure you're starting to get the picture. Which this movie really didn't have. I mean, violence and gore, yes. It had a nude scene, but it was only a dead body and not really sexual in any way. And I guess there was like implied rape because you don't actually see it happen.
Yeah, which I mean, good.
Yeah.
No, but
I mean, torture, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would say they're extreme in any of those categories.
Is this our
gore.
speaking of Artsploitation? Was Red Christmas also an Artsploitation movie? I think it was. Hey, dear sweet beautiful listeners, Editor Jay here. I went and checked, and Red Christmas was an Artsploitation film, so I believe this is our second Artsploitation movie. Anyways, back to whatever Jeff is saying.
Christmas blood is another in their list of evil offerings that check some of that naughty list off quite nicely, resulting in something of a very different Christmas movie. Something you aren't going to be playing after Christmas dinner for the kids, which I can agree with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't play this for anybody. But
I mean, if I was looking to fall asleep, maybe I'd turn this on after Christmas dinner, and I'm like, you know what, I'm tired. I need to fall asleep. I'll put on Christmas blood.
The opening act is a bit of a letdown. We get in, so it's an amazing movie, but the opening sucks. The opening act is a bit of a letdown. We get a text intro catching us up on the story, which is about as original as drawing penises on things. We are then introduced to our hero cop character and our probably soon-to-be slasher victims. The plot is pretty much Halloween, but Christmas. Jason, now instead jolly old Saint Knife-a-Lot.
I think they thought they did something there. I think they thought they were really clever with that line.
A handful of soon-to-be bodies arrive shortly before the end of our first act, presumably to join in the upcoming sleigh ride. I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
This review written by Matt Dupay.
Don't malign our boy Matt like that. What are you doing over there, Jay? He would never stoop to this. There really isn't a clear cue as to when the second act kicks into gear, because it never does. Basically skips directly from first to third act.
Yep.
You can disregard the second. The story just seems to add character after character in preparation for what, at this point of the film I was guessing, seemed to be an incoming bloodbath. But nearly halfway through the runtime, Santa had not yet begun to slay.
I know, that was kind of what you and I were complaining about.
Instead, we got a heavy dose of character development and backstory, but we didn't at all. Very different from how the film took liberties with the framing of the plot. Also, the plot. I mean, can we get real? This movie does not have a plot. It has an excuse for Santa to come kill a bunch of people. And like I said, the plot could have been solved in one move. We go wait for Santa. Because we already know where he's going.
Yep.
Christmas eventually becomes Triple Xmas.
No, that's a different movie.
Yeah. With the relatively mild first half of the film giving way to a very bloody Yuletide, but not to the degree which one would expect from your regular artsploitation film. This is actually a pretty mild entry, something on par with Scream or the billion other slashers that followed in its wake. This movie is nowhere near as good as Scream, by the way.
How is it that this person, in attempting to praise this movie for people who've actually watched it, is actually making me dislike other movies more because you think you're praising?
Yeah. It's predictable to a fault, tropey, and a very rinse and repeat, although admittedly a lot more bloody movie than some. It's like, you rated this highly, you're giving this a good review, and his entire review seems to be about tearing down all the flaws of the movie. The score was surprisingly decent, almost great, well composed technically and suited for each scene. It was definitely a highlight of the film and deserves a salute.
The score was literally like the same, like, it's almost like the theme song of the show. Like you know, going back to our idea that like if this was actually like a prestige television show, the score is almost like the instrumental like opening of the show, and you just occasionally just get like doon 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 doon, like, you know, and it just plays throughout. That's the score that this person is talking about.
I agree. I did not think the score was great, but whatever. The film is incredibly well shot, which is sometimes lacking in lower budget releases. I'll give him that. It was a well shot movie. As far as slashers go, this is a very well made, detailed, and fun addition to the plethora of films like it out there. It's not.
Nope, not at all.
I'm never going to watch this again if I have a choice. I'd go as far to say that it's better than many of the films in the same genre, boasting more entertaining characters, better kills, more gore, and just outright guts.
No.
No.
No. You know, I was, you know, kind of laughing along. That is an insult to the rest of this genre.
Well, I was going to say, even if you want to compare a brutal movie, like something that's like about somebody getting butchered or whatever as the main plot point, Terrifier 1 and 2 are both better examples of this genre than this movie is.
And one assumes Terrifier 3 will be a better
yes.
version of the genre than this
I
is.
guarantee you Terrifier 3 is going to be a better version of this movie.
And bloodier and more brutal and have guts and all the other shit. But like,
I'm sure.
you know, none of these kills are as good as Silent Night, Deadly Night with the frickin' like backside of the claw hammer into the head. Like that's maybe the most brutal kill in that movie. And that's more brutal than anything they show on camera in this movie.
Indeed. If this is a genre you enjoy, Jay, you will love this film.
False.
It's a textbook hack and slash with a Yuletide theme and the gore setting turned up to 11. It's also just in time for your Christmas viewing pleasure. This was written when it actually just came out.
Okay.
Catch it on Amazon.
Well, I mean,
Did Amazon pay for this article after they bought this movie?
I don't know. Like I said, closed for Christmas. That's what we named this.
That is closed for Christmas. And believe me, Jay, it's closed.
Well, Jeff, where do we want to put Norwegian Santa on the naughty list?
I mean, he's got to be pretty high because he seems to be unkillable.
I think before we've said Simon Phillips, Nick Ian something Conway.
Yep.
You know, old Ian something. I think we've said like he's kind of our Michael, like he's kind of our stand-in. He's got to be ahead of Michael. He's killed roughly 112 people, if not more.
Well, he killed 121 before he was put away the first time, plus the 30 people we see him kill in this movie.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd say he's got to be better than Michael.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say yeah, he might be our new baseline human level. Like
plus, he's got the teleportation powers of Jason as well.
He's Michael plus Jason in a Santa suit. Like that's the one maybe big positive you can kind of say about this character.
He has no weaknesses either, so.
Oh, you know, it pulls a Michael twice, gets shot, survives, gets put away, and then because you know that Halloween, I think 4, like he kind of gets put away
a little bit. Yeah.
You know, but gets out, and then gets shot again and disappears into the night. You know, a la Halloween 1. Yeah. Like,
well, let's stop talking about better movies. Let's move on, Jay.
All right, it's time to open wide, Jeff.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
Oh, no. Beep. Oh, God, he's got Twinkies.
As I've been in the process of collecting things for the Spooktacular. All sorts of delicious delectables for us to rank and review on the show.
Did you see those Shackalicious gummies?
Shackalicious gummies?
Yep, Shaq's got a line of new jumbo gummies.
Oh, man. Now I'll have to go looking for this.
Yep, they're Walmart.
I got Hostess Twinkie mystery flavor.
Dude Dad's got his own Twinkies? Who the hell is Dude Dad?
And just we're recording this, like I said, on August 28th. These go bad on September 15th, so never a better time to try them out.
How do Twinkies even go bad, Jay? Don't they start off bad?
But as soon as I saw these, I went, oh, those will be perfect for a garbage day segment.
Yeah, they're garbage, all right. Let's find out what the mystery is. The mystery is they don't taste very good.
The mystery is they taste like normal Twinkies.
Is that the mystery, that they're normal Twinkies but they expire?
Who the fuck is Dude Dad?
That's what I'm wondering.
Dude Dad, my own flavor of Twinkies. At Dude Dad, I am stoked to partner with Hostess on a limited edition Twinkie mystery flavor. Can you guess the flavor? And it looks like his name is Taylort Cerberus. I don't know. Because there's like a fake autograph down at the bottom.
Dude Dad. All right, I'm going to eat this Twinkie now.
I had no idea what you're talking about because I hadn't looked at the other side of the box.
Oh, I just assumed you knew. Now, Jay was just going along with it. He's like, Jeff's spouting crazy nonsense again. Better go along with it.
I'm looking at the front of the box. I'm like, where the fuck did he get Dude Dad from? I turn around the back of the box.
Well, it smells like strawberry.
Oh, maybe a little licoricey? I don't know. That's kind of the scent I'm getting when I first open up the wrapper.
It tastes like strawberry as well.
All right, I'm going to take a bite.
All right.
Even if Jeff hated it, I want everybody to know he has eaten the whole thing.
I was at work all day with nothing to eat. I finished the Dude Dad Twinkie.
Are you looking up who Dude Dad is while we're...
I'm trying to figure out who the fuck Dude Dad is, yes.
I don't like this at all. I don't
bad.
like the way it tastes.
It's not good. The mystery is it sucks. Dude Dad probably also sucks. Well, let's see.
And here I was planning on getting like the one of the Hostess Halloween like cupcakes or whatever for the podcast. This made me not want to do it.
Taylor Kalmus is his name. Hostess collaborates with Dude Dad. Let's see. You're encouraged to follow Dude Dad and Hostess on Instagram for hints on what the flavor
I'm not
is.
going to do that.
Hostess and Dude Dad share in bringing joy into consumers' homes, Jay. I don't want Dude Dad in my house. So a collaboration on one of our iconic snacks was a perfect match. We're so excited for consumers to try the new mystery flavor Twinkies, share them with their family, and join in on the fun of guessing the flavor. Good Lord. Some like ancient corporate marketer was like, you know what sells well? Mystery flavors. Maybe you could find somebody, I don't know, the Dude Dad, because he's just like making something up because he's really old. And then they actually go find somebody who has a channel called Dude Dad.
We brought Dude Dad. Okay.
Yeah, it turns out he actually said Doodad. It was actually Dude Dad.
What one of those mystery Dude Dads?
Oh my God.
I think I would almost say, in a weird way, even though I like the flavor that I'm about to say that I think it is, Sour Patch Kid Red Berry. That is what the flavor it is giving me.
Could be. Oh my God, the prizes even suck for guessing the mystery flavor. So you have to guess the mystery flavor by October 3rd, Jay. One lucky grand prize winner will be able to select a year's supply of Twinkies. 2 runners-up will receive a $50 Walmart gift card. And the 5 third-place winners will receive Hostess swag. Hostess and Dude Dad will reveal the flavor in early October.
Real fast, listeners, I apologize. My child's making one of my children are making a lot of noise in the background right now. No, I think the wildest thing is you have till October 3rd to guess it. These go bad on September 15th.
Oh, you know who Dude Dad is, Jay? He's one of those guys who makes videos in his kitchen in his car.
Oh, one of those guys.
Yes, he's one of those guys.
Are we gonna find out, just like all the as we found out with all these other YouTube celebrities lately? Are we gonna find out that Dude Dad is actually a terrible person?
Oh, his name is Dude Dad. I mean, is there even any doubt?
Dude Dad violates the Geneva Convention.
Looks like Dude Dad's most recent series is him building a house, and he's also competing against somebody surfing, and the 5 stages of hiring a contractor. Let's see what that funny clip is about.
Hi, Kurt. How's it going?
Oh, not too bad. How you doing?
That was funny, Jay.
And somehow I bet he has 10, 20, 30, 100 times the subscribers we do.
I was gonna say, take a guess. What do you think Dude Dad's subscriber base
It's probably
is?
like in the millions, isn't it?
No, it's not quite that
Okay,
bad.
so like 500,000.
750,000.
Jesus Christ!
And his views look like they get an average of 130,000 views on
Hey,
his videos.
listeners, help us get our numbers up.
Yes, pump us up to Dude Dad levels. Do you guys want me to make unfunny skits for this channel? Be like, hey Jay, I'm here to do your landscaping. Wink. And then that'll be the clip.
Oh my God! No, you know what? Yeah, we've now got a villain, and his name is Dude Dad.
Fucking Dude Dad.
We're gonna hunt him down.
He made me eat this horrible Twinkie, which we both finished, by the way.
I didn't.
Oh, you
No.
didn't finish? Oh, it's hidden behind his can. Oh, all right. I finished.
I'm gonna take these to the Yonkers that I haunt at Merle Hay Mall during the Halloween season. I'm gonna leave these for the other Spirit employees to try.
You know how you were leaving mystery fingers around at the various gas stations, Jay?
Yeah.
You should leave those Twinkies in the wood piles too.
I left the last finger. We have a local energy drink chain called Hyper. I think
Yep.
that's the best way to describe it. And I put one in the tip jar, and I didn't drive away fast enough, so they saw it, and apparently they thought it was hilarious that someone had just stuck a finger in the thing.
Nice. But yeah, I'm going to give this a no. I don't like the mystery.
Yeah, I don't like the mystery. Like I said, this makes me not want to maybe go get a Hostess Halloween thing for the Spooktacular, based off of how much I disliked this one.
But thanks for introducing us to Dude Dad, our new arch rival.
Our new nemesis. We're coming for you, dude, Dad.
Oh, Jay, a little update. I don't know if you've already seen or found these marshmallow M&Ms for Halloween.
I got pumpkin pie ones.
Oh, pumpkin pie ones.
Oh, but I'll keep an eye out for marshmallow
I
ones.
saw
Thanks
it.
for giving me a heads up.
All right, yeah. I don't know why I'm doing this. 'Cause I'm gonna have to eat all this garbage during this.
Oh, I've already bought so much, and I've got things that I had to order.
Oh my god. Oh boy.
So be prepared for that. I'll hint for the Spooktacular, but in the meantime, we're still like a month away. We still got one more straight up Christmas movie to go.
True.
But yeah, get in touch with us. Send us an email, horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com. Get in touch with us on social media. We are at horror4holidays. That's horror, the number 4 holidays. We're all the places: Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Threads, Twitter.
YouTube.com/horror for the holidays. Hit the subscribe bell. Light up that like button for us so we know that you guys are out there and listening. Leave us comments on there. Tell us, oh god, the show is so terrible.
Tell us, give us ideas for stocking stuffers. Our stocking stuffers we've been actually doing pretty good on regular episodes. I've noticed the views have kind of shot up on those, but stocking stuffers have not been getting a great number of views, which is fine. Yeah, we really, but let us know what listeners, let us know what you want us to do. Let us know what you want us to cover. We're partially doing this for ourselves. That's the reason we do it. But we're also, we also want to know what you guys want to know or hear us talk about. Or else it's just going to be, I don't know, Jeff and me. What's the deal with them werewolves? Part 2.
What is the deal with them werewolves, Jay? There's a lot more deals with them werewolves we could talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of monsters we don't know the deal of yet.
Yeah. What's the deal with that Gill man?
But anyway.
What else? Subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars. Leave a review. Jeff and Jay, stop eating into the microphone. Your kid yelling in the background is more entertaining than your podcast.
Oh, do we want to say Totally Rad Christmas?
Oh yeah, we will be appearing on an episode of Totally Rad Christmas here very soon. It's an 80s Christmas podcast. We're talking with Jerry D about a movie we've not covered for the podcast yet. Hopefully at some point soon. But
yes, you guys will get a little sneak peek of our opinion on that if you go over there.
yeah, I don't think it's out yet. I'll certainly shout it out. I think once it's officially out. But we'll be talking about one of Jeff and my favorite movies, a little Deadly Games, a little Dial Code Santa Claus.
Happy birthday, Christmas.
Yep. Bonnie Tyler?
Yep.
Just starts singing in the middle of the movie. Then later, Creedence Clearwater Revival just starts singing in the middle of the movie.
Spread a little Jesus.
Oh, what a film. Anyway, we'll see you again in 2 weeks with another Christmas movie. We'll see you next week with Stocking Stuffer. And then shortly after that, the Spooktacular begins.
Spooky.
So spooky.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.